If you've been enjoying our podcast as much as we have and hope that we continue past 50 episodes, here's your chance. Here's your chance to help make that happen. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, not only will you help the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary podcast to live on, but you'll also get exclusive content just for you.
Here's what's in store for you. Join monthly Q&A sessions where you can ask us about anything. Whether it's about our work, personal interests, or advice on your own projects, we're here to connect and share.
Enjoy unique content created specifically for Patreon subscribers, including bonus segments from our shows.
You'll have a say in what we create, and you'll have a voice in future content.
Benefit from exclusive discounts on merchandise and entries into special giveaways. It's our way of saying thank you for your support.
Receive personalized shout-outs in videos, podcasts, or social media posts.
Because your support on Patreon allows us to dedicate more resources to creating the content that you love.
You could join the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast community on Patreon and become a Prairie patron for just $5 a month. We thank you so much for your continued support, and we cannot wait to share our ongoing journey with you on Patreon. Stay tuned for our launch date.
We are extremely grateful for the support of VisitSimiValley.com and the city of Simi Valley's belief in Little House on the Prairie and their support of the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
Discover the charm of Simi Valley, California, the home of the prairie. Visit Simi Valley, where adventure meets history and the spirit of the prairie comes alive. Explore the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, step aboard Air Force One, enjoy stunning hikes and savor delicious local cuisine. Whether you're here for a weekend getaway or a family vacation, Simi Valley offers something for everyone and is only 30 minutes from Los Angeles. Plan your visit today and experience the best of Simi Valley. Go to visitsimivalley.com for more details. Your adventure awaits in Simi Valley.
Hello, hello, hello once again, Bonnetheads. How are you? What a week. I am Pamela Bob, creator, writer, and star of Living on a Prairie. Thanks for those who are watching, liking, and subscribing. And I am here with, she's officially now French prairie bitch, Alison Arngrim. Hello, Alison, coming from
Yes, ma'am. Maintenant, c'est
just a rabbit in the background.
Le gars, c'est le prairie.
Oui. And, of course, our hashtag imaginary boyfriend. That's right, Dean Butler. How are you, Dean?
Hey, Pamela. Can I just say that I love that music that we're starting with. It just creates such a nice, happy mood stepping into this. So
actually, it's funny because we have a listener question about that piece of
cool.
music. So
That's
we'll
great.
wait till the end of the episode.
Okay, great.
And we'll tell people what this actually is. But yeah, I like it too. It's so nice. How are you guys? I know I'm tired this week.
Yeah.
How are you?
Well, Alison, you're
Well, it's been
international
wild
this week.
here.
Yeah. So, well, tell us how you are without saying too much about what you're doing, but how are you?
I am much better because I was sick when I got here.
Yeah.
It was cold and rainy and damp and all that, and I had to hit the bricks and go to work. So I have improved dramatically, and the weather's, I feel like the old hello mother, hello fada,
Here I'm at Camp Granada.
It's like, oh
It was
look,
very entertaining.
it stopped raining. Guys, I'm starting to feel better about the whole thing.
Is that Alan Freeze? Is that who does Hello Mata, Hello Fada? Is that
I'm gonna Google it.
That's such another era.
Look,
I
Hello,
love
Mata.
that
Yes.
growing up.
Hello Fada.
Sherman.
Here I am.
Sherman.
Oh, Alan
Sherman.
Sherman. Here I am at Camp Granada. Yeah, love that. Fun.
I
Alan
have been
Sherman.
very
Sorry, I was
Camp
late.
Granada. The first few days, I was like, "Come get me!" Wow.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm having fun.
Very good.
I was on cold meds and bundled up, and now
that's
it's
the
not
worst.
freezing, and I'm not sick.
Yeah, and when it's cold and raining and gray, it just makes you feel so much worse. I'll tell you, we were in, my husband's from the UK, from northern England, he grew up, and we were there in April. And in April, when it was just starting to turn warm in New York City, well, in April over there, it was like 35 degrees and gray and raining almost every day. It went from 35 to maybe max 50 degrees the entire time we were there. And I was so unwell the entire time. I just, like, it affected everything.
Join the British generally who are unwell and sniffly.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
You UK people, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
you
tough.
guys need sunshine.
What
You
do
don't
they have,
even
like a
know.
month of sun and whole year?
Every once in a while, it's beautiful, but then it'll, be cold and raining. And especially in Derbyshire where they are, it's always 10 degrees colder and rainier as soon as you enter Derbyshire than, let's say, London. But
it is
it's
beautiful.
rough. It affects Oh God, it's the most
it's
gorgeous
lush
country
and green
ever.
and beautiful, but boy, there's a price to pay in the overall weather for that.
Yeah. And also, I had such contempt because, the people that live there, they're not affected, but they're fine. I'm the one that's affected by it. So they're out jogging. They're going on picnics.
Yeah.
And I'm just mad at everyone.
And you're on and you're on vacation, so which makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, absolutely. So and I've been running around. I feel like there's a lot from the time that we did our Labor Day event to the present, it just feels like there has been this nonstop flow of activity that is, we're just evaluating where we are and what we're doing as a group, what we're going to advocate for our cast, how we're going to do events moving forward. And that has to be a very intentional thing, so we're really, so Alison, and you've been on these calls, which is really cool. You've been on a bunch of these calls. You're
France?
across the pond. You are on the calls.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So, but it's a lot going on with all of that and just doing the things that we need to do in our lives.
Right.
People have stepped up. All sorts of different organizations and producers and event people have jumped up because they heard what happened. They all knew what happened. And so they all popped up and said, oh, hey, you guys want to do you need some help? Do you want to do something?
Yeah.
And we've been meeting with everybody. We've been talking to everybody who can come up with a plan and help us out with this whole thing. We've been talking to half the world. It's been great.
Yeah,
and just really talented, interesting people.
No
interesting
question.
ideas.
Yeah, no, we've had a lot of great conversations, and I would just say, I know we're going to talk about this. I mean, we talked extensively about this last week about the fallout, and we just wanted to talk a little bit this week about the reaction that we got to that.
Yeah.
Which overall has just been lovely and supportive, and people who watched all this happen like a slow motion train wreck. Saw what was happening. I think the thing that I would say about all this, and it was, now Alison, you were in a different situation in Pennsylvania. You were in a room that was very hot. I understand you were packing yourself with ice underneath. What were you doing? You were in this hot room.
I was with the Frenches were there. There was eventually the event staff of the place were at the museum. They brought in a fan, but I literally went and got those blue ice packs and shoved them in my clothes.
I will say that's
Tony that's laughing.
Yeah, Tony's laughing. Yeah, Tony's laughing.
It was that hot, and it worked. I'll tell you, it worked, especially the one I shoved in my pants. I would do it again. Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
There it is.
Yeah. So, in the room that a bunch of us were in,
folks.
the room that a bunch of us were in was in fact didn't start off air conditioned, but the air conditioning did come on, and so it was relatively pleasant for us. I think the thing, I read a bunch of comments that were posted after last week, and there's a lot of empathy for what all of our cast members went through without breaks, without food, without all of that. But listen, I get all that, and I think we all appreciate that. I think from our perspective, the greater level of concern, the far greater level of concern, is what it was like for all the people who bought tickets to come to this and be a part of it. That is where our concentration lies. We came out of it fine. We all survived. But you, I think, fans who came to see us and to participate in Little House Love had a very different experience. And that experience is something that we, once we saw it and felt it, know that we would never be part of again. We are not doing that ever again. And so our focus is creating the better experience for so many people who love the program and who want to commune with members of the cast. We want that experience moving forward in 2025 and beyond to be a really good one. And that's where our focus is, entirely on that.
I'm pleased to see that our fans have all come out and said, but we love you guys. And the thing is we love you too, and we don't want to make you stand around in the sun. We want
without water, without food,
water, and
all that.
I was worried about people's physical safety because it was just getting weird.
Yeah. I think I know, Alison, one of your big concerns was all the ADA stuff. Talk about that for a minute. I mean, what is it about that you saw or felt or sensed?
A lot of our fans, it's just, we have a lot of fans who are older. We have a lot of fans who've just been through a lot, and a lot of people come in wheelchairs or various mobility assistance
devices,
stuff.
Yeah.
And at Comic Cons and events, it is often difficult to get good, like ADA stuff. Had make sure there's a wheelchair line, make sure that disabled people get access to stuff. And it's a thing. And I guess I'm a little spoiled in California working with nonprofits. There's always somebody signing. There's always ADA space to get people in at an entrance. But it's hard to do, when you're on the fly and you're out in the country at an event. Mm-hmm. But you're supposed to try. You're supposed to go outside and go, oh, you look like you might need help. Here, why don't you come in through this door? You're supposed to make sure that it is physically accessible to people who are in wheelchairs or have walkers or are having trouble moving and walking, and get them in. And really, that only really happened when one of our fan helper assistants went, let me go outside and do that. It was just because it was just kind of anarchy. And so we were trying to make sure that happened. But that's very important. We can't do that to people. Like I said, I just don't want people getting hurt. And that's what's going to happen if you don't take care of that stuff.
No, exactly. So, everybody, we felt like we needed to share last week so that people understood how we were responding to what was going on. And there are things going on underneath the hood right now to look ahead to the future. We're not going to talk about those conversations yet, but be assured they are happening. They are very intentional, and we are looking in a very proactive way about how we're moving forward with all this. And we want it to be a good experience for all of you.
There's a lot happening. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, there is. Absolutely there is. So I think that that's what we can say about that. And thank you for all your nice comments.
And the comments, I'll just add this.
Oh, go ahead.
They were so appreciative, actually, of hearing what you guys were going through on your end, because they knew what they were going through on their end, and they sort of suspected, because they saw how tired you all were. They saw, Alison, that you were in a hot room without ventilation, and they saw it. And so having that confirmation of things were bad for you guys too was people really appreciated that. And the empathy of everyone is just so extraordinary. I mean, they just have gone above and beyond with appreciation for you all and, understanding that you had really no control over what was going on. So not at all taking away from their experience, but they were appreciative of hearing sort of from your experience as well.
Sure.
They were asking if we were okay during. I know some people came up and said, Dean's eyes are really bloodshot. Is he all right? And people were coming to me going, are you okay? You look like you're coming down with something and it's 8 million degrees here. I mean, people noticed and were asking if we were okay at the time. And you shouldn't have, I don't think you should have a fan event with celebrities where the people coming in have to literally ask, are you okay?
Yeah, right.
That should be like a question when everybody's supposed to be getting autographs and having a good time.
There was definitely a mutual level of concern going on for everybody. I mean, I saw it when we stepped into the tent for various events and saw that things were just not right. In the room, the lines were long, but it was, it was functioning. It was long. But when we got outside and saw the lines, saw the tent, saw all of that, it was very clear that things were not right. So, again, not to belabor it, we are moving on from that. So thank you. Something else we wanted to talk about today in the context of kindness and goodness. There's a member of our cast who is no longer with us, who just so personified a level of goodness and decency. And I'm thinking very specifically about Dabbs Greer, who of course played Reverend Alden in our program. And as we're talking about moving forward with goodness, I thought this would be a good time to talk about Dabbs. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about Dabbs Greer. There's a wonderful piece that our friend Patrick did back in, what was it? It had to have been early 2000s.
Well, when did those DVDs come out?
It would have been the 2000. Yeah, it was an Imavision collection. 6, 7, something like that. It was for it was the third. It was the 30th. It was for the 30th anniversary. So it was 2004.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was 2004.
And you went to Dabb's house. It was
correct. We all went to Dabb's house. This was wild. Dabbs lived in Pasadena. I've been working for NBC in recent years, but I hadn't worked around the NBC group for a long time going into that. And I think Alison, I don't know if you did these interviews, but anyway, this shooting company that does these kinds of events for NBC came in, and Dabbs lived in a pretty modest little apartment in Pasadena. I mean, it was not a tiny little apartment, but it was a pretty modest apartment. And this NBC shooting company came in and transformed this space with canvas and, all lighting to turn it into a really wonderful, neutral interview space, which is what you want for something like this. And so Dabbs sat down with Patrick. I sat down with Patrick. A bunch of people sat down with Patrick to have conversations. And Dabbs' conversation, I just watched it again the other day. Catherine was going through things and she saw it and watched it, and I watched a little of it as well. And Dabbs just radiated such goodness. He just was such a good guy. Now, Alison, you were there with him from the very beginning. I mean, what was your take on Dabbs?
Well, I mean, it was marvelous because, and he played a lot of reference. He married Carol and Brady. He did the Brady wedding, which is crazy.
Oh, did he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, that's what people post on Facebook. Go, wait, the guy who's married the Bradys.
He marries everybody.
What is happening here?
Yeah.
Well, he was in everything. That was the thing. We had a lot of people in Twilight Zone. He was in the Twilight Zone. I'm always saying anyone who did episodes of the Twilight Zone, I immediately worship them. And we had multiple Twilight Zone episode veterans on the show. He did that. He was also terribly, terribly funny. I mean, yes, he was the Reverend Alden, and he would just go into the zone and be the Reverend, but he was also hilarious, would joke around. I can honestly say there were a couple of times that he said things that I cannot repeat on this show.
Seriously?
Love that.
I would never have imagined that from Dabbs.
Right. Very witty, very funny. I mean, around the adults, he was like directed at me. I heard about it. He was very funny. He was a very funny man. And he'd been everywhere and just done everything. And it was just amazing. He did an episode of Saturday Night Live. This was my favorite things he did. because it was 75. I had to look up which episode, because like, oh my God, what episode? Because I said 74, there he is, he starts in Little House. It was the episode in 1975 with Candace Bergen. I had to look that one up. Yes, it was November 8th, 1975, Candace Bergen, okay. And it was remember the Albert Brooks films, a film by Albert Brooks on Saturday Night Live, the short films. So it was Albert Brooks. And of course, now remember, Saturday Night Live just started, like we started.
Yeah.
Melissa Gilbert and I would have slumber parties and stay up and watch Saturday Night Live, which she was not supposed to be doing. So, and there in the midst of Saturday Night Live is this Albert Brooks film, and it's a series of parodies of this upcoming season on NBC with made-up shows. And there's Dabbs Greer, just randomly on Saturday Night Live in an Albert Brooks film, and he was freaking hilarious.
I remember, a digression on 1975 Saturday Night Live. They're celebrating their 50th season this year. I mean, that was their start. I remember in my fraternity house on Saturday nights, there were a lot of closed doors and a lot of funny smoke coming out of rooms, and a lot of runs to Jack in the Box. on set with the munchies, and guys were watching Saturday Night Live, and it was big time laughter. That was a very special time in television. So so you're over doing slumber parties. Any runs to Jack in the Box and funny smoke at your house?
Yeah, well, as we were 12 and 10 at the time. Yeah, not so much.
I
we
hope
did eat a
not.
lot of junk food.
Yeah, that Melissa Gilbert was a total stoner by 10. Yeah,
making fudge and brownies and stuff and all like that. Yeah, but the big scandal was that we were, I was allowed to watch Saturday Night Live, but she just didn't tell her mother, so that we were very young watching this very funny show with Chevy Chase and all these people. We just loved it because it was new. I mean, it drew a lot on things like Monty Python, but it was new. People had not had this on American TV. This type of sketches.
Yeah.
It was like Smothers Brothers meets Monty Python meets, and we were just enthralled immediately. And all their commercial parodies, which is brilliant. And the fact that they had a thing that was like NBC episodes. And the show that Dabbs was supposedly in was called Black Vet. And it was about a doctor. Yeah, it says he's back from Vietnam. He's a veteran from Vietnam and a veterinarian. And he's a black man in a small southern town. Will he make it? Black Vet. And it's just like bonkers. And Dabbs Greer played a racist man bringing his dog to the vet.
Seriously.
Oh my gosh. Doesn't Peacock have every season,
they're all there.
every episode of
Everything's there. Sure, we can go back and find that. Wow.
Candace Bergen, episode 1975.
Got to check
Candace
that
Bergen,
out.
after 1975. No, November, season 1, episode 4. Oh, God.
Seriously.
Very beginning.
Wow.
A film by Albert Brooks, Black Vet. It's hilarious. He's bringing his dog in, but it's like, well.
So had you guys started Little House by then, or was this right before you all started? You had started. Okay.
Yeah, 74.
So then what was the conversation when you got on set and you were like, you were on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, like, oh my God.
Why was he on Saturday? So did they film that in L.A. or did he go to New York to do
It was an
that?
Albert Brooks film. They may have shot it in L.A.
Sure, they could have done, right.
Could have been shot anywhere. An Albert Brooks film.
Right.
He shot all over.
Right.
It was bonkers. And that's the thing, is he would pop up and things, and then you'd be watching Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone. And there's Dabbs Greer.
Yeah.
He was in everything. And
even
then
later
the
on.
show,
Yeah.
he
Go
worked
on,
like a
that's what I
fiend.
Yeah.
And even poor like Green Mile and everything. But like he was playing.
He has like
the grandpa on
800
some
television
series.
credits.
Yeah.
There's
I
like
know, he was on-
800
he was on
television
Roseanne.
credits. Yeah.
His
Yeah.
IMDb is just like.
Yeah. And
I
100
remember at
feature
one
films.
point, somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s, he was playing like somebody's grandpa on a series, and he was working. And I remember Melissa Gilbert actually said, "Good Lord, Dabbs Greer, how old is that man? He's working more than all of us."
Oh, no question. He had a
It was
tremendous
amazing.
career.
Dabbs Greer. That man always had a job. Always had a job.
Yeah,
He was always in something, and he was always brilliant.
Yeah. No,
You know,
absolutely.
I always thought the hardest roles to play were like therapists, which is why you're so brilliant in Living on a Prairie, Alison, because you nailed it. Therapists and like reverends or ministers or, you know, because it's really difficult to do those kind of roles without being either over the top or too cliche or too sweet or too, or not as grounded as they should be. And what always impressed me about him was just how damn grounded he was. And there was never a whisper of preciousness in what he was doing.
Yeah.
It was so rooted in goodness. And it's interesting that you say that that's just sort of what he emanated, because obviously he was able to take that to the role.
Yeah.
And he was a great crier too. Great crier.
Really?
Remember.
I remember
so
that.
There are a few episodes where he cried, but the one in particular that I'm thinking of is when Mary goes blind, and that final scene, they're in the church, and he sort of talks to the congregation about, you know, he'd been questioning God as why this happened. And then, you know, turns out that she's going to teach now. Her dreams actually are going to come true, yada, yada. And he gives this monologue, and it's a real monologue, single shot. And it is breathtakingly gorgeous. Just on an actor level, it's just like yet another masterclass. Like this cast of yours, you guys, you had between him and Michael Lennon and Victor French and these masters of acting. Yeah. Truly.
It was a
that
really
was the
strong
thing
group.
Michael did, where so many character actors on the show. Victor, obviously a big one, and the people who were known as character actors suddenly given these huge roles where they're like leads and having these huge relationships. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, I watched the Dabbs Greer interview with Patrick, and I went down the rabbit, you know, because then YouTube just suggests other videos. And there was, you know, like a minute and a half video also of Victor French that I watched, and him also saying how Michael Landon changed his entire career, his entire life, because he was only ever cast as villains and the bad guys in the Westerns. And it wasn't until he worked with Michael Landon who said, oh, this guy has a sense of humor too. And he cast him in this part that is so multifaceted. Yeah. And it gave him a life. It gave him an entire career. But anyway, that's Victor. We'll do that in another episode.
We'll do, you know, that would be really fun to have Victor's children come on. Tracy and Victor are wonderful advocates for their father, and that would be really great. However,
we're taking a break, but then I'm discussing the photo that Tony just put up here of Reverend Alden kissing his wife that only lasted one episode. We'll talk about that when we come back. We'll be right back.
When you visit Simi Valley, California, you're stepping into the pages of history. Go from the pioneers to the presidents. Explore beautiful wildflowers, hike through iconic Hollywood locations, and end your day aboard the actual Air Force One at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. Throughout the summer, take the Little House 50th Anniversary Tour at Big Sky Movie Ranch. Less than 15 minutes from Los Angeles and 30 minutes from Universal Studios, Simi Valley has small-town charm with big-time history. Go to visitsimivalley.com for more information. We are so grateful to visitsimivalley.com for their commitment to presenting the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
Hi, and we're back. Okay, let's talk about this picture that Tony, could you put, yes, that.
That's very unusual for Dabbs, yeah.
Well, this is one of those episodes that's been like an audience conundrum, which is he marries this woman and then we never see her again. What happened, you guys?
That's such a Little House thing. That did happen a lot, actually.
I mean, did like the actor actually, like, did something happen to her that you, or it was just sort of like, that was the storyline?
No,
for this
that was the
episode.
story.
Now it's done.
Yeah. I don't think Michael, I think Michael believed that these stories lived in their own reality, and there were threads that got pulled through the series, but so many stories about, I mean, that would make a great topic, is the people who came for an episode and you think they're going to be around and you never see them again. That's a really good topic. Yeah. I know.
Weird.
I know. It's just, but it served the story he was trying to tell at that time, and he didn't get too caught up in feeling like he had to honor that in a long-term
People
sense.
came and went.
Yeah.
So that actor was like, woohoo, I'm marrying the main character
exactly.
of the show.
And
I'm
not
set.
so much.
Then, yeah.
So you had a quote,
really
Alison.
horrible.
What was that?
There was a quote. I'm looking at his Wikipedia and all of his 700 movie and television
It's incredible.
appearances.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
it's
Just
incredible.
unbelievable. Mostly supporting roles. But he told the Albany Times Union in 2000, every character actor in their little sphere is the lead.
Yeah. Because he had.
Okay, now Dean,
He would walk into every scene with
You've heard
a
Pam-
life. Yes, go ahead.
Dean, you've heard Pamela Lance tell that story about the minister who was with
Yes.
Dabbs in his last days.
Right, and who was inspired by Dabbs?
Yeah.
You
I
have got
can't
be the
even tell.
minister
I'll
that
try.
he
I'll
wanted
start.
to
I
be,
will burst
yeah.
into tears if it. Apparently, this guy was the chaplain at the place where Dabbs was living his last days. He came to speak to him.
Mm-hmm.
Dabbs was why he became a reverend.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was what you were just saying about not being cloying or thing. Because he said he was raised around fire and brimstone preachers and people were and he did, and then he saw Dabbs
Right.
on Little
And he
House
saw something
and said,
real.
That's the
What
kind
a
of man.
story. Wow.
Yeah.
And when did he pass? Do we
boy.
know? Quick Google search.
2007.
Wow. So not long after he did that interview. Yeah.
And do you think he knew how beloved
April
he was?
28th, 2007. I think Dabbs had a lot of people around him who loved him, and I think he was a very solitary man. But I think that there was a nice community around Dabbs. I mean, I know, Alice is just mentioning Pamela Roylance, who developed a really wonderful rapport with Dabbs following the show. I mean, she had a nice rapport with him on the show, but in the years later, she developed a really wonderful relationship with him. I mean, Pamela's like that. She just, Pamela connects to people and
She's so
forms
lovely.
relationships. She is a lovely person. That's a really good, as a human match, Pamela Roylance and Dabbs Greer is a really good match. There's just goodness everywhere with the two of them. And so really
And
special.
how was he on set, Dean? And
Oh.
Alison? Well, I guess maybe more Dean as an adult actor or a young adult actor. Was he forthcoming in
totally
advice or
No, Dabbs was not coaching people. That is not, he was, whereas Catherine McGregor was very willing to step in and coach and did, and, was really sort of relentless about it in the most desiring to be the most helpful way.
Yeah.
Dabbs didn't do that. Richard Bull didn't do that. Kevin Hagen didn't offer that. That was it was a different mindset. Dabbs took what came at him and turned it into whatever it was going to become. He was a wonderful reactor. I know I've told this story 100 times, and this is sort of a Jonathan Gilbert thing too, only learning his own dialogue and not learning anybody else's dialogue. And just that, like a Tams Whitmark script where it's just the side, it's literally, he's learning the last 5 words before he speps.
right? so he
And
knows
that
his
kept
cue.
him in the scenes. He never knew when he was going to speak until that first rehearsal happened. And then he's sort of feeling it. He's reacting very authentically at that point. He was just a wonderful craftsman. He was a pleasure to be around on the set always because he just radiated goodness.
Yeah.
Always radiated goodness and happiness and support.
I love it. It does make me sad that some of these people are not here to experience
No, of course.
this sort of new momentum of fandom and fan love and to see how the show just keeps going and going and going.
Well, he's very worthy of it. And I know you have some questions that people have asked.
We do. We have listener questions. Some more listener questions. Shall we do listener questions? Anyway, last question. What kind of name is Dabbs? Do you know?
What is that about? Yes. Where did that come from?
The
Do we know?
lineage of
It's
Dabbs.
short.
Yeah.
I love it. I've never known another Dabbs. And it's just
It's from
very
Missouri.
interesting to know. No,
Because his real name's Robert. I mean, it was Robert.
Okay.
wonder
Surname.
where Dabbs
Okay,
came
so the
from.
surname Dabbs is an English variant on the surname Dabb, which has multiple origins. A pet form of Robert, There you go. Pet form of Robert.
Dab is a
There you go,
pet form of
Form
Robert?
of Robert. Yes. Interestingly
I am not
enough.
calling Bob that. But yes,
We call him Bob.
I've
Robert
never heard that
William
before.
Yeah.
Dabbs.
Yeah.
Greer.
Yeah. There you go.
It's a great name. Love
Yeah.
the name.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our Dabbs Greer, conversation memento. Love talking about him. I look forward to talking about other people as well.
Absolutely.
It's really cool. All right. Listener questions. We've got some more for you. Are you guys ready?
Of course.
All right. Beth Brewer wants to know, hi, I was wondering who plays that opening song and what it is called. It is the newest opener you have been playing for a couple of months, I believe. Yeah, our opening number when I
Okay. Yes.
He says, I showed it to my husband and he said it sounds like the band Nickel Creek. He said if it's not them, it's someone that plays like their style. She said, I love the podcast. Thank you, Beth Brewer.
There is obviously there's a composer. I found this track of music on a service that I use called Audio, which is AUDIIO. And it is a very, very good license-free music library that it's constantly adding to its library. It's terrific. And it's got a very clever search engine to it. And so I think I was searching something folksy, something country, and a bunch of these tracks from this particular writer came up, and it just immediately hit me like, what a great intro this is. And I love the way that sounds. I just think it works beautifully for us. And Pamela, you have found the wonderful place to step into that too. I mean, good
All
for you.
musicality, baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if she wants to find it,
Audio. And let's see.
Audio.
We could we'll find the name of the track and post it in the notes. I mean, it's in the file name. We can get that
very
for
pretty.
you. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Lovely.
pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, next question. Kathy asks, she didn't say her last name, but Kathy asks, any plans on having any of the crew that was behind the scenes on future podcast episodes? It's all so interesting.
There are
Sure. Who can we get?
there are very few of our crew who are still with us relatively. In Connecticut, there was a wonderful women's costumer there whose name escapes me right now, but she was terrific and could speak wonderfully about the women's costuming.
Was it Laura Ingalls Gunn?
Well, Laura Ingalls Gunn was not part of our show. Linda West was what, but she was not the one who was there. But there was Linda West.
Charlotte Randall York is around.
Charlotte
Randall Yerke.
Yeah, Charlotte could join us, and Charlotte would be wonderful.
Yeah.
She has great stories to tell about learning script coordination, script supervision, continuity. Lots of great stuff there. I had one of my, I'll never forget. Well, we should wait till Charlotte comes on. I've got a great, Charlotte story about how Charlotte's very straightforward, and she just looked me square in the face one day and told me about something I was whining about, and she was pretty direct about it, and I really appreciated it. She
Sometimes
was
you
great.
need those people in your life. Yeah.
No,
sure.
she did not mess around, and she's still that way. She's very real. We have to get Charlotte Randall Yerke on the show.
She's such a lovely
Lovely
human being.
I'm going to see her on Halloween. She lives in my neighborhood.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
Generally, she moved, but she's still going to get more trick-or-treaters at that house than we ever do at ours. So we go over to her house with the candy bars and hang out because she gets the trick-or-treater.
Oh,
Wow.
that's so nice. Yeah, we'll get her. She's just a plethora of information.
Yeah, she is.
Great.
She is.
You know,
and she's
everything
very
is
plugged.
continuity,
And she has remained so connected through all of this coming into the 50th year and preceding that. Charlotte really stepped back into our world. And look in our at Big Sky Movie Ranch and our Little House on the Prairie tours. Charlotte gives tours. very distinct tours, probably very crew centric, which would be fascinating for people because crew always experiences the show in a way that's separate and distinct from the way the cast experiences it. And I think I would love to sit on one of Charlotte's tours one day because I think she has a lot to add to all that.
Charlotte also, I know in See Me, I know she was wearing this beautiful brooch necklace that Catherine McGregor had given her.
For God's sake.
So she also has mementos and stuff like that. That's just very precious. That's one of a kind. And with all of these stories behind it. Too.
Let's try and get Charlotte. Let's try and get Charlotte next week.
Hi, Charlotte.
Cool.
Come on the show. Okay. Next one. Paula asks, is there any TV show, movie, or Broadway show that if offered to you at the same time you were offered the job on Little House on the Prairie that you would have taken instead? And I'll ask on top of that, was there anything offered to you while you were on Little House that you couldn't take because you couldn't get out of Little House?
I can't say that was the case. I was offered the chance to do a remake of Frankenstein to play Dr. Frankenstein, and I was so
wow, you really blew your opportunity.
Yeah. Boy, yeah, I was so nervous about it. It ultimately didn't happen, but the tickets were purchased. It was going to be shot somewhere in Massachusetts. It was
while you were on Little House or before Little House?
No, during the Little House years. Yeah.
So
it was during a hiatus
Frankenstein,
time.
The moths, and what the
Allison's in a
I
state
don't
of shock
know.
right now.
Yeah. I know. Just bizarre.
Thing you've told me about yourself.
I know. But it's one of those things that you just sort of thinking about things that were offered.
How did you leave that out of your book, Dean? This is like the most interesting thing.
How interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
The time I was going to be in Frankenstein.
Let's see here. I've got a copy of the book right here. Was there something about Frankenstein in the book? I don't think
remember
so.
That.
I did not put no, I didn't. That's just bizarre that I didn't write about it.
Who were you going to play? Seriously,
Dr. Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein.
Who else was in it?
I was going to be Dr. Frankenstein.
Do you know anyone else who was cast in it?
No. I know nothing. This was one of these bizarro situations that happened, and it probably is so good that it didn't happen.
Maybe somebody made it because I'm going, ooh, what year? Like, we need to.
Yeah, it was early 80s. It was early 80s, and it was
Cheech and Chong as
exactly. There you go. It would have been one of those strange situations. That's probably the most bizarre offer I ever got. I think to be Dr. Frankenstein. So
if you had been offered Little House at the same time as you were offered, I don't know, a movie, like a really big movie.
Well, see, my agent at the time, Ina Bernstein, wonderful agent at International Creative Management. She was head of television at International Creative Management, which was then and still is a very, I don't know, it's a big agency. I don't know if it's,
it is.
Yeah.
Huge.
She was very dead set on me doing Little House. She just said, this is something that you're very right for. You should do this. I watch the show and cry every week. It's perfect for you. She was just so dead set on it that, she had me, there was a pilot that was going to star Joe Namath it was a competition for Welcome Back, Kotter, and I was offered that pilot, and Ina said, absolutely not. It will never make the fall schedule. You're not going to do that. And I said, I really want to work. I need to do something. And she said, I know you do, sweetheart. She always called me. That's not the thing you're going to do.
Smart. What a good agent.
If Little House comes along, that you will do. And
this is a smart agent because
she was great.
Agents, there's so many people out there. They don't care what you do. They just want you.
No, they just want the money. Yeah, no,
right.
And I get it. I wanted the money.
Yeah,
I needed to make a living.
not a bad gig, but yeah, she knew it wasn't your trajectory. She knew that wasn't the right path for you.
Right.
Wow. Lucky that you ended with her. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, Alison, how about you? I mean, you were 12.
I wasn't offered anything. There was weird stuff everybody auditioned for. I don't know. I'm trying to think what. I know the Bad News Bears, the series.
Well, you would have been
was
great
happening
in something
right
like
around the
that.
same time in '74, and that was the big thing. Jodie Foster wound up doing Bad News Bears.
Wow.
And I always said, thank God, because she would have gotten like.
Oh, you know what? She would have been a good Nellie.
She would have been a great
Not
Nellie.
you. She wouldn't have been you. But if there was any other actor that maybe I could see it, Jodie Foster.
Yeah, she would have been great in it.
Because you never see Jodie Foster and I at the same time because it's some weird twin sci-fi movie. I auditioned though. There was
she's like an idol of mine too.
Oh God, I love her. There's a movie, Audrey Rose. Everyone auditioned for this. And for what year was Audrey Rose? Oh my God. Because it was really weird. It was like Melissa auditioned. We were all doing the show, but everyone was running out and auditioning for this movie. 77. Okay. So I was just turning 77. So I was been like 14 and a half or so. I auditioned for it. I was probably too old, really, but I looked young. Yeah. And Melissa auditioned for it. Like everybody auditioned for it. And it was really weird because it was it was terrifying. It was about this poor girl who is remembering her past life when she died in a fire. So,
oh my God.
Terrifying.
That sounds amazing, actually.
It was great. It was a great movie. It was a tour de force, like young girl performance kind of thing. And who the heck wound up doing that thing? But it was Susan Swift. I don't know, but somebody wound up doing it. And it was a big thing. But everyone auditioned for that. Was the big thing of people trying to be in Audrey Rose. And Melissa was like, "Oh my God, did you read for that too?" Jesus was like, "Who did not? Do we know anyone who didn't read for this?" Let's see. Who wound up being the poor kid? I'm saying so IMDb today. This is terrible. We're so bad. I think it.
Hey, that's what it's there for.
Wound up being Susan Swift.
Okay, and
that's right. Yeah, 1964. So she was born then. Yeah. So there you go.
Wow.
But yeah, there were things that I didn't. But no, there was nothing. And I don't know. If I'd known what the role of Nellie was and known about it, and that it was the villain, and someone said, "Do you want this or this?" I'd have gone, "I don't care what the other thing is. I want it."
Let me be the villain. And you had a certain affinity for being the sort of the bad girl, which is
and Nellie is such a great part. If I can't imagine what.
You made Nellie a great. You made Nellie a great part.
Yeah.
You made Nellie. Look, it was on the page. Really not. I mean, that first speech tells everything that you need to know. But you inhabited that so fully. You owned that, and you made that part come to life. I mean, there's
Jodie Foster is definitely number 2 to you, Alison. Number 2. Can't hold a candle. Would have been a runner-up, but you nailed it.
Last question.
I'm so glad I did it. When I think of other things, I'm so glad I did that. None of the
Of course,
stuff.
Yeah. You're iconic. You're one of the great villains in the history of television. I mean, my God, who would give that up?
And you're the OG Rizzler.
Yeah, I'm the OG Rizzler. Right? Wow.
God, I love that. You do know what Riz comes from, what this whole Riz.
No, so what? Means. No, I don't know. I don't.
Oh, it's actually from a real word. Like most of this skibbity.
That my child says every other word. Yes.
Yeah, it's the new groovy far out man, whatever. But Riz actually comes from charisma.
Oh,
it is literally short for charisma.
Awesome.
Which actually then makes sense.
Yeah, it actually makes it
the Rizzler. Okay. Yeah, it's so cool the way people take these words and find that spin. It's pretty cool.
Have Riz?
You have Riz. Yeah, you have Riz. Well,
and you totally do.
Well, that's very nice. I'm very flattered by that, and I thought that was very sweet of this woman to show up with this cap on. I'm knocked out by the stuff that people do for us. I'm just blown away by it.
Yeah.
But let's ask one last question, and then we've got to dive for the exit.
One last question. Rachel Bullen says, I saw that the actor that played Royal passed away this
Yes.
week. Did you see that, Dean?
Yes. Nicholas
Are there
Pryor.
any special memories about him? And she said, I enjoyed meeting y'all last year in Corsicana, Texas, and the Simi Valley event. Thank you all.
Well, Nicholas Pryor was a wonderful actor. I mean, the performance that always stands out for me of Nicholas Pryor was his performance in Risky Business, playing Tom Cruise's dad. And he was terrific.
He's another guy that was in
that.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Nicholas Pryor was a wonderful, wonderful actor. And he was terrific in this and just so easy, stepped into it. And of course, this is royal ill and ending at the end of his life. And this is how, Jenny Wilder comes into Little House, is where Shannon Doherty comes from. But he was just a wonderful presence. I just remember just gracious, kind, decent, nothing, no attitude, nothing flamboyant about him. He just was really, really easy is my recollection. Very much like Dabbs. Like, Dabbs had that. Nicholas Pryor had that quality. He was great. Just lovely.
Good.
That's something we got a lot of on the show, and I think it was because we got the experienced character actors and people with theater background, like Richard and Catherine.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people who just showed up and said, all right, what are we doing? Okay, yeah, I'm in. Give me a cup of coffee. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Let's make a TV show.
Yeah.
They were just chill and like, well, I'm ready. What are we doing?
And they just did it. They were so experienced and confident in what they were doing. Nicholas Pryor had that. Dabbs had that. Kevin Hagen had that. All Carl Swenson had that. All had this just tremendous ease about what they were doing. And that's what made the core of Little House so strong, is those people.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for questions for today. But everybody, please keep sending in your questions because, as you see, we do read them and we want to answer them. And I'm sure we'll be having another Patreon live Q&A session coming up sometime relatively soon. We'll announce that when it's happening. And I think that's a wrap for today. Do you guys want to plug anything? Where are you? What's happening?
Well, so Alison, how long are you going to be? You're till the end of the month, right?
I'm in France till I get home right before Halloween.
Perfect.
And then I'm going to New Jersey. I have a thing on the 10th, a lovely autograph show there I'll be doing in New Jersey. And then I'm going to go straight from New Jersey to Ireland, and I will be in Belfast and Dublin and speaking.
And
you'll love it because it's all about how you can use nostalgia in your social media and the connection now between nostalgia and social media, the old and the new, and how they work together.
Well, we need to bring back all the. I mean, I'm sure you certainly have things to say about that. You're going to be talking about that. I'd love to hear more about what comes out of this conference because that's very powerful stuff. No question. No question.
And there's some cool other speakers. I'm going to be taking notes.
I guess so. Yeah. So now this weekend, I am heading for Burlington, Vermont for a signing on the 17th in South Burlington, Vermont, at a Barnes & Noble at 102 Dorset Street South. And I'll be there with Prairie Man for that night, probably for a couple of hours. Hope to see you there. And then on Saturday, on the 19th, I will be at the Almanza Wilder Farm in Burke, New York, between 10 and 3 in the afternoon. Me, Prairie Man, Little House Pictures, and the really cool thing, some Morgan horses are going to be there. I mean, Almanzo was so beloved for his Morgan horses. There will be 2 beautiful Morgans there. And we're going to use the Morgans as they're going to be part of the selfie shot that we do so that kids will be able to come up and stand with me and the Morgan horse and have their picture taken. I think that's going to be really fun. In front of the barn, in front of the Wilder barn. I think it'll be really, really cool.
Oh, that's lovely.
And then home after that. It's going to be a full blast weekend, and then we'll talk about more next week. And but that's what I'm doing. It's going to be running this week.
Good. Guys, this year is going to be over before we know it. It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. I know, it's crazy.
Can I take January off?
No.
Dude.
No, you can't. You just have to get some rest during the holidays. I mean, so we'll talk more about the holidays coming, but it's just, I see no end to this energy that's following us now. I just see it continuing, and it's very exciting. And I think that there's a lot of Little House love to share in the future, now and in the future. So really excited about that.
Onwards.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe and share with your friends. You can visit us on our socials, Little House 50 Podcast, or our website, littlehouse50podcast.com. It's that time, Bob. Get the wig. We'll see you next time, everybody. We'll fly now.